very sorry to disappoint. So our buddy Ken, he has put together a pretty neat presentation, which he is looking to present today. He's going to be talking about his home lab at a local conference. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about that on a Ziti TV at some time. It's pretty neat stuff, and maybe there'll be a blog post so you can look for that in the future. It's another nice day here in Western New York with some wind blowing. It's nice and cool out. I've got my long sleeves on. It's only 72 degrees. Yeah, I guess that's the ding. So what are we doing today? Well, today we are looking at release notes. I think it is release notes 11 plus. We think we have 11 and 12 today. And then, then we have something really special. We're going to be talking to Eugene Kobyakov, who is our resident SDK expert. And we're going to be talking about something new and exciting everybody is really interested in, which is the Python Sdk. He's been working hard on that, and we'll hopefully see it working and take a look at what it takes to make a Python application and then maybe even host a Python application. Hopefully we see all those things. So let's get right into it. Let's just talk about release notes. And as usual, I look down here to read my release notes. 2510. I think we covered 2510. Did I cover 20? I'm pretty sure I covered 2510. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure of it. So let's look at 2511. All right, 2511. We do have the nice new format for release notes, which is great to see. In the Edge, lots of scary things coming on. What's going on? I'm getting some feedback. Hold me for 1 second, please. Hold for 1 second. This is interesting. Ziti TV is going off the rails. Where's Ken? Ziti TV has gone off the rails, Ken. Hang on. What? Everybody hang on. Okay. I saved it. So I had the live stream running in the background, apparently. I brought up a tab, and when I did that, I was not prepared to hear myself in my own head. So that was a lot of fun. Thanks for bearing with me through that. Okay, so we've got release notes. We've got breaking changes in the management API. That's exciting. So we will see what kind of things Andrew has been breaking. Well, maybe it wasn't Andrew, but probably was Andrew, right? Everybody knows it was Andrew. We have some bug fixes. We've got some bug fixes in the fabric, and nothing seems to change in the CLI of the Golang. So let's look at the Edge. Management API breaking changes. The following Edge management REST API endpoints have breaking changes. Post to external signers, put to external signers, and patch to external signers. Kid, I enjoyed the naming convention of the key ID and kid. Andrew was saying how it leads to some very exciting log messages like kid is not found. That sounds pretty scary. So we've got some external JWT signing stuff going on, breaking stuff. If you're using that endpoint, beware. Let's see, management API. We've got some new endpoints. This enrollments endpoint is nice because what this will do is if you create an identity, you need to be able to return what kind of enrollments are from that identity. I'm proud to say that I forced Andrew to put this together because I was trying to test some stuff. And so Andrew was kind enough to add a new endpoint and expose it. So that's what that is. So now you can make an identity and then get your enrollments very, very easily. Management API JWKS support. We have an RFC. RFC, always fancy, right? Nerds like us, we love seeing our RFCs. So you can read all about JSON web key sets. I haven't read up on it yet. Maybe you're aware, maybe not. But we now have support for that, whatever that particularly means. I haven't been involved in this, but if you're interested in that sort of stuff, read up on it. Sounds cool. Bug fixes, whole bunch of bug fixes. We need to do a better job of actually writing out what the bug fix is. So if you're one of these people who puts these change logs together, do me a favor and save me a hover. All right, so if the client closes while creating a terminator, okay. Panic when removing a service. Panics are bad. Authentication fails. UDP tunneler can stall. Oh yeah, if you have a whole bunch of requests, we were having UDP tunneler problems on the router. Detail is null. Oh yes, this is another one that I found when running the tests for the controller. We've got some fabric bugs, X-Web support for default handler. Look at this. I don't know which of you made this, but you're on my good list today. Thank you for putting a nice little description about what the bug is that you fixed. Very nice. Metrics API. This is cool. I know Todd was working on this. So now you can, did I see? I did see. Is it live? Can we go? Hey, you can go and read about Prometheus now, Prometheus metrics. Very exciting. Thank you, Todd. Also, while you're there, give us a star. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, well, that is the release notes reading for today. Next thing we're going to do, let me minimize this. What's our next thing? We're going to look at Python support and any other SDK conversation. And we're going to do that with Eugene. Let's bring Eugene on the stage here. Boop and boop. Hello, Eugene. Oh no, Eugene, are you muted? Eugene, this happens to you all the time. Why are you muted, Eugene? Hey, there you are. Hey, this is nothing. That's nothing compared to having your own voice in your head because you were dumb enough to leave a tab open and causing all of Ziti TV to go to hell, right? Yeah. So welcome, Eugene.
Welcome, everyone.
First time on Ziti TV, right?
Yeah.
So isn't it exciting?
Ziti TV virgin, so to speak.
That's right. That's right. Very exciting. We've got Eugene on. We're going to pop the TV above Eugene like this. Eugene has been with NetFoundry for quite some time. He's written lots of lines of code in the C SDK. He's been responsible for we don't say Java SDK because it's mostly written in Kotlin, but it is the JVM, JRE. What do you call it? JVM or JRE?
JVM SDK.
The JVM SDK.
I think we disagree on nomenclature for SDKs.
We sure do.
For SDKs to be named after the target environment, not necessarily what it implemented on.
I see. So your target environment with C is Windows? So should it be the Windows SDK?
Any C program, any C program could use it. C is kind of different way. But if you say, oh, it's a C# SDK, somebody would think, oh, I can't use it in any other .NET, languages and frameworks.
So we have a chat. Does anybody out there in chat agree with me or Eugene? Let's see what the chat says. If you saw the C# SDK, would you think it doesn't work with .NET? Or would you be like, oh, it's a .NET SDK just written in C#? We'll see. We'll see what chat tells us. There's never any chat, so maybe we'll get some. Every once in a while, we've got somebody who tosses a nice comment out there. But I'm not disagreeing. It certainly could be renamed to the .NET SDK. There's no question about that. The NuGet package, which it publishes, actually is called the ZD.NET Standard Library because .NET, boy, I don't know when they started doing this whole .NET Standard thing, which is kind of like the lowest common denominator of classes you can expect and support. And so let's pop this on screen. Boom. There's nothing but C#, says Marcos. Thank you, Marcos. He's, of course, correct. F#, who cares? VB.NET, right? So
I thought that Marcos agreed with me.
Oh, no. It's C# only. C# only. Yeah. So I don't even know what I was talking about, but thank you, Marcos, for derailing whatever thought that was. I'm sure it was worthless. So let's talk about Python, though, because this is why one of the big things that we're here for. The Python SDK has been getting worked on by you for quite some time now. It's sort of exciting for lots of people because the barrier to entry is, I think, pretty low. So what do you have to say or share with us about the Python SDK?
So first, let's pop into our Ziti Dev Page, and you can see here that kind of lists all the SDKs we have. They're coming soon. I wish somebody would just take it off because it's already here. It's already available.
1 second, Eugene. We have more technical difficulties by the person who's trying to make the share happen. We're having lots of troubles. There you go. Continue. Thank you.
All right. So first thing first, I popped onto our Ziti Dev page that kind of lists what SDKs we have available, right?
Now, quick fun fact: Ziti.dev is in its way of being redesigned and moved. So when you land on Ziti.dev in the future, I expect you to get redirected over to OpenZiti.io, doing some upgrades and changes there. So hopefully soon that'll happen. So maybe we should put coming soon on the coming soon.
Yep. So it lists all the SDKs, and I don't know if you covered it before. I hope you did. SDKs are really important because that enables somebody to be, zero trust all the way. I know zero trust is not really the right term, but using SDK inside your app allows you to be as secure as possible with your networking traffic.
And if you haven't watched any of my talks about the superpowers that application embedded zero trust gives you, well, you can just pop over to the channel and watch. We have, I probably talked about application embedded zero trust a million times, but you're definitely right. It's crazy to be able to take and think about having no open ports, right? If you're using an SDK, you're going to be contacting an edge router. And if your server is also application embedded, you'll have no listening ports on the server either, which is incredibly neat. And then my favorite story was I was working on ZSSH, which is a Zetification of SSH. And I had to do something. I don't know what it was, but I had to pick up, it was the dentist. My kids were going to the dentist. And I had to pick up my laptop and I had to bring it to the dentist. And so when I did that, this is not what I want. So when I did that, it was really neat because I just picked up my laptop, I brought there, I hotspotted, and I was still ZSSHing to my target. And it was only after a little while when I realized I didn't have to whitelist a new IP address to be able to ZSSH to my target because of Ziti, because of how it was all set up. I just was able to get in there. So the power of application embedded is legit.
Yeah. So that's where we are. So I created like a little bit different slide here. Basically copied everything from that page to here, but in this slide, I kind of want to rearrange them in a matter of from a lineage, I guess. So we have the Go SDK that kind of lives on its own. We have Java SDK. It's written in Kotlin for sure, but it's still a Java SDK. It's consumable by Java applications. Android SDK is built on top of Java. It adds some additional Android-specific things to it. And then we have CSDKs that is the base for a host of others. I'm not even sure that we have all of them here. .NET SDK. I notice it's not called C# here, but it's .NET SDK. We have Swift SDK and Node.js. And now we have Python. There'll be more SDKs coming, like Ruby, maybe Lua. This all depends on the interest that people express, either through as the customers or as contributors in our discourse channel. So for now, today we're going to talk about Python SDK, and the goal with the Python SDK to make it easy, to make it feel as Pythonic as possible.
Hang on. Did you just coin a new term, Eugene?
Yeah.
Pythonic.
I think.
I hope you put that in the doc.
I didn't coin it. I think it's the standard Python term.
Really?
I believe so. But
so is it Ciic and Goic?
No, I think Python is specific
with
the use of that thing. So basically, it's a Python way of doing things. So we can jump right in. So let me just close a bunch of that here and jump into something that uses Python SDK.
Now, before we go too fast into this, because I can feel like we're going to go from 0 to 60 in no time, you have set up an environment somewhere. Obviously, you can't use
Oh,
OpenZiti without having
absolutely.
a network.
Absolutely.
Now,
So that,
I know that you've also been using something that's coming down the road. Did you use that new thing that's coming
yes,
down the road?
yes, that new thing. You
Preview
don't have,
time. I don't know if anybody's gonna. Nobody even knew we were going to show this.
yeah.
This is what
So
happens with live TV people.
this is Ziti Edge Developer Sandbox, and I've been using it myself because I consider myself Ziti Edge developer, even though I work on SDKs. But this is something that a application developer could use to quickly connect their client application to their server application with minimum effort. So in here, where's my scroll bar? Why is it not scroll?
Uh-oh, bug. We got a bug.
Yeah, I have a bug.
Make it
I
bigger.
think it's this one.
So Eugene has a 4K monitor. He never has to deal with scroll bars. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that you've not seen this bug yet.
Right. So let me go to my.
If Ryan is watching, maybe Ryan's out there fixing this already.
Well, here's the scroll bar, but it's kind of like in the middle of the page. It's weird.
You just needed to go to the next page to find it.
Right. So how does the Azure Developer Sandbox enable your development? So basically, you create your environment, my called EK test, and you create your identities and you create your services. And basically, your identities can talk to each other using this service, or you can talk to some other things that enabled to developer by default. So in here, I have a client identity and a host identity. For the purposes of their functionality, they identical. Like there's nothing specific to it. I just named them so I can have a kind of separation of duties between my identities. In all my tests, the ZD host will host the service, and my client will consume the service and will try to connect to that service.
So you made a couple of identities here using Zeds. I assume very easy. You could just click the add another kind of thing, and
Yeah,
then somehow you were able to download your one-time token. Oh, I see it right there, the little key. So you download your key and then you enroll the identity. Makes sense.
correct.
Cool.
Correct.
Now, where's the edge router?
You know what? I don't even care.
I love it. That's exactly right. You don't even care because all you really care about as an edge developer is where's my host and where's my client, right?
I think if we spend more than 5 minutes preparing for this talk, you could have downloaded the identity into my network and you could connect it to my service and vice
Sure.
versa.
Well, if we get bored at the end, we can just do that.
Yeah, maybe if we have time left.
Sure.
we can do it.
I'm not well versed with Python, so if you want me to do any Python, then
Or
we
you
might.
can. Well, that's the beauty of it. You don't have to use Python. You can use any other application to connect to my Python service, for example.
Gotcha. So could I use a browser?
I don't think you can use the browser.
Could I use curl? Netcat? What are we gonna do?
You can use curl.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool, cool.
So my service, right? So there's a couple of things to know. Most SDKs can just say connect to a service, right? I can load this identity and connect to a service by name. There are other ways of connecting to the service, and that's by
Ooh,
the
is that configuration I see here?
yeah, that's intercept configuration. So if you're so fancy, or if you're working with existing application that already has like the host name and ports, built into this, we will support those as well. So in my case, that service that you saw, my super service, is also available by this, host name with port 80 on it.
So
Right?
if you had an identity and that identity understands the intercept v1, which is like our tunneling apps, all would understand intercept v1. And presumably, I'm imagining the Python SDK you're going to show us probably understands intercept v1 as well. You make an intercept v1 config, and then from your application, you can just reference this address.
Correct.
Cool.
Correct.
Makes sense.
All right. So now we can jump into our Python developer environment. They have a bunch of samples here, and they're all available on the GitHub for your perusal. So as I mentioned before, so we have the server identity and the client identity, right? So for the purposes of this talk, let me talk about like HTTP server, right? So this is the basically base normal HTTP server sample in a Python.
So that's what I like. If I were to go to some like getting started guide, that's what they're going to show me.
That's
Something
basically
like
that's where I pulled it from, right?
cool.
And it has basically it starts the server and it has a handler to respond to the GET requests, right? And I maybe modified it. Maybe it was returning HTML. I was just returning JSON, and there's a message in JSON here.
With a typo, Ziified.
Okay, yeah. Well, maybe you can
Pull request.
fix it.
Pull request.
Pull request. Yeah. So, and if you look at this, it's like, wait, you haven't been Zitified yet. Where is Ziti, right? So the Ziti is here. You import OpenZiti, and you monkey patch it, right?
Can you tell me what is monkey patch? What does that mean?
So monkey patch is apparently a standard Python term. Basically allows you to modify the behavior of classes that you don't own, right? So in this case, because we want to enable the server to basically change the behavior of the server to listen on a Ziti service instead of like a real socket, like a interface and a port number, right? We need to override the default socket behavior for these addresses, right?
And so, can you go back and show me that main again? I don't think I saw. Is there a URL in here? There's no URL, right? I pass it in to like as a parameter.
So by default, right, you have a host name and a server port, right? And the host name could be either 127.0.0.1 or localhost, or if you want to listen on all addresses, it's usually going to be 0.0.0.0, right? That's how the service is usually configured, and we will give you the server port. Right?
Okay, so there's a variable somewhere, host name.
It's here, right? So,
yep.
Right. So this is still came from the sample, right?
And this is the server side code. So this won't actually connect anywhere. This will just listen.
This will just listen. Yes. So how do we modify the behavior? So we modify the behavior with a monkey patch, and we'll also give the parameters to a monkey patch saying if you want to listen on this hostname and port, what you're actually going to do, you're gonna get the ZT context, and you're gonna listen on this service.
I see. So there, when we started this main function, there were two arguments supplied, and the first argument is going to be the host name, or it's going to be
So if I look at my run configuration, right? So this is the parameters of the script, and so this is my my hosting identity, right? As you saw on the Z screen. And this is the service that I copied from Zed's. It has this long name, but that's because that is a multi-tenant environment, and we need that separation from.
And you just go into the Zeds and just click a button and copy that.
Yeah, and just copy that from Zed's.
Yeah, cool.
So my super service, right, ends up with this full identifier in Zed's. Right. So
have you gone through the effort of unbase64ing that to see what that is?
No.
I'm interested.
I think it's just.
It's probably the ZD ID is my guess.
I think it's good. Some good in base64 code.
Yeah.
So anyway, So let's see if that, that works. So when
Now,
we start,
can I now access localhost? Is it still listening on 8080?
absolutely not, right? So
Can you prove it?
let me actually demonstrate that. So first, I can say, no, absolutely not. Also, if you look at,
Nice that.
can you, is it legible?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It looks great. Yeah, it looks great.
If I do
ONSS, I guess.
stat TP listening socket number, right? There's nothing that listens on the
I do not see 8080 in there.
8080, right?
That's pretty cool.
So though it says it started, the server started, but this is just a message from here, right? It's not really listening on Discord. So the question is, how do you access that? So for that thing, we have HTTP GET script, right?
So we're doing a full application embedded example here.
Yes.
Cool.
So HTTP GET is basically just the thing to kind of hit a URL, and it's using URL 3, which is part of standard Python standard library, right? And then again, like all this code is standard Python. There is not OpenZD at all here, right?
Well, there's line 12. Don't
So
lie.
there
Line
is two
12.
lines. There is one line we import OpenZD, and we'll open. And line 12 is we're gonna monkey patch because we want to inject our own behavior underneath the URL lib3 library, right? And notice that there is nothing, we actually don't specify anything, right? So if you do the comment, we need to set the identity environment variable to your identity file, and then what, right? So let me see how we run this sample. I think it's this one.
If I wanted to, could I pass my JSON file instead of injecting it with an environment variable?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you can certainly either you can just load it here, right? But so anyway, so here's my environment variables. Probably don't see it well. So this is my Ziti identities is set to the client file now, right? That's my client identity.
Yep.
And guess what I want to access? I want to access http ://ek.z.zd. And
Cool.
that's the name
Also, not
the
a
name.
valid .zd, not a valid top level domain.
It's not a valid, and that's on that. Only the name exists for that particular service, right? Let me see if that works.
I
So
bet it
that's the
will.
server running in this tab. Let me hit the run on this thing.
Look at that.
And guess what? It returned, it connected, got the HTTP request, HTTP response back to 100 OK, and the message that was there.
I gotta tell you, that is slick. That's really like nice job, man. That is literally two lines of code to create a Python enabled or ZD enabled Python application.
It's not even creating. Take existing application and you enable it, right? By basically few lines of code, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be 2 lines, sometimes it'll be a little more. But
when would it be a little more?
let's say we have a more complicated service scenarios, right? So in the server side, you do want to specify the bindings, right? So if you listen to multiple ports, it will be a little bit more here. If you want to support multiple services on your one server application, it will be a little bit more here.
So do you do one line for each service that you want to support?
No, it's going to be like in the bindings, it's basically just a map, right? So you could have
Gotcha.
have additional entries here. Like you want to listen on 0.0.0, and there could be some other service there, right? Like let's say it's 40.
And these ports and IP addresses like this totally are just because we're trying to interact with as little changes to your existing code as possible, right? Like
Correct.
if you were doing this straight native ZD, opening a connection and writing bytes, like you're writing your own netcat, you wouldn't need to do any of this.
Yeah, if you're writing, netcat that talks specifically to a ZD service, then you would need it.
You just dial the service, and then you don't have to worry about the bindings and stuff. But this helps you enable, especially like if you have a greenfield or a brownfield app, right? Like you want to just Zidify.
Yeah.
Changing that seems really super easy.
Yeah. So we do support like standard, Python hosting. This is like part of the standard Python library. We do have a sample of Flask, using Flask. Now, Flask is just an application that you code to, but it actually doesn't do the hosting. You have to have someone else to host it. So Waitress is considered like a production level hosting application, and this is the sample of how would you Zidify that. Again, very similar to what we were saying before. You import OpenZD, you specify your bindings, and you populate the bindings over here, right, when you run the app. And actually, we can show it right now. So I can stop my HTTP server sample.
Can you do me 1 second? You went really fast there. Can you go back? I got a main function here. I've got I'm reading some arguments from the command line. I'm setting some bind options, and I'm calling run app. Run app is going to run the waitress from serve, which is going to make some HTTP server at 1234 on port 18080. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yep.
And then you've got a new annotation that we haven't seen before, the at OpenZD.Zidify. Is that from Flask? Is that what you said?
No, this is this annotation.
Yeah.
So this is something we created that's in a Python. It's called decorator.
Okay.
So what it does is actually it basically takes this function and decorates it, creates a wrapper around it. And this wrapper is basically just doing the monkey patching for you, right? So another way of doing this would be, with, OpenZD monkey patch, and by putting the
So you made a decorator that basically calls OpenZD.monkeypatch and then creates and adds the bindings that we saw before that you had declared, quote unquote, manually. I guess this is still a manual, but all right. Okay, cool. So when this is done running, we should have an application on 1234 port 18080 available.
Well, no, right? Because remember, our bindings will be replaced, right? This is just with telling Waitress to say, bind to this host and port, but under hood, we're going to swap it out and use our own binding options. And again,
so it's not available to the underlay on those ports, but it would be available to the client at that address.
No,
the to a ZD enabled client. No, or it has no bearing whatsoever.
It has no bearing. It's just
it's just a way of us mapping it together. Then
mapping it to service, right?
Gotcha. So we could use whatever IP, whatever port, and then all that happens is ZD says, "I got this. So I'm not going to actually do that. I'm going to listen on the overlay, not the underlay."
Right.
I see. I get you.
Right. So now we can run the Flask application. Right. You can run here, and you can see the log. And if you're so inclined, you can browse it. And this is a log from Sdk. You've probably seen it before. And then we can run, and because it's working, let me show it. Again, we're using the host identity, and we're using the same service, right? We're just serving it with a different application. So now we can hit with the same HTTP client, right? And guess what? Again, it was a success and returned, have some ZD, just like application.
And so you have now shown two serving applications, one that uses Flask and one that you just wrote manually.
Well, not Not super manually, right? It's using a standard Python.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one without Flask. What is Flask, by the way? What is it?
Flask is an application framework. It allows you to like add, routes and be like
makes it easy to make an API. I see.
It's more like it allows you to create like a REST-based application instead of just
Cool.
dealing with straight up HTTP requests.
That's really neat. So I'm wondering if anybody watching this has any favorite Python apps that they now want to Zitify. Have you Zitified anything else in Python land?
No, I haven't, and I know that
I know Robert's team.
Some of our fellow developers, Zitified we're trying to work on Zitified the Ansible. Right, Ansible is all Python, so maybe you can invite them next time and talk about how they use Python SDK to do Ansible work.
I think that's an exciting idea. I wonder if anybody wants to come on and do a Ziti TV show on that. I really would like to see that. That would be really neat. What about I know we access the NetFoundry API sometimes through Python. Do we have any? How would I use this to say Zitify the access to the management API or the client API for Ziti itself, or would you?
I think you would. I think that's like an excellent idea. I'm not sure if we protect API access. I think we do, right? And right now,
I know if you run one of our quick starts, we don't separate the management API from the client API, but you can now. Also, if you remember back when I read the release notes, accessing metrics through ZD for one of those metrics endpoints that Todd just added might be interesting. Yeah, I think that's kind of neat. Like we don't separate them yet, but mostly it's because it's difficult enough kind of wrapping your head around zero trust just to begin with, right? Like having everything hidden out of the gate makes it a lot harder to learn and explore. But we do have a fella on the discourse called Markamind who was trying to hide the ZD admin console, which does come with the quick starts. We have some quick starts about that. So putting the admin management API behind ZD itself just seems like a natural thing to do.
Yeah, but we would think, but if you write an application that accesses the like management API on the other API, right, it's just a basic HTTP client, right? Or some
right.
that even if you like generate it from from the API spec, right? It's still going to be under the hood, still going to be some kind of HTTP client. So our hope is that you won't have to do anything, right? You just either have to do like either monkey patch or through annotation, and with minimal effort, you could Zify that application that uses the API.
Yeah, super cool. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but awesome shirt you have there, Eugene. Everybody should enjoy the little OpenZD logo. I love it. Nice. I have one. However, I apparently am missized for their sizing guidelines. So I can get it. Hang on. I do have this. I could have put this on, but I already have my long sleeves. Where's my swag? We need to get more OpenZD stuff out there. Where is it? I know it's on here somewhere. I know it. What do you got left? What else? Here it is. Right. Yeah. There it is. So what else are we going to talk about here other than Python? Or are we done with Python or we got more?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, you're the host. You can ask questions.
Well, the question was, is there more about Python or is that all the Python?
I think that's it. I mean, if you look at the Python SDK, it's available on the GitHub okay. Let me go.
We have Nick drinking coffee from his ZD mug. Can't get used to what?
Look at this little small screen. I don't know how you.
I know, it's terrible. How do people survive at 1080p, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. I only have QHD monitors, so 1440p is how tall my monitors are. But even those 400 pixels make a big difference. So I totally can understand.
Yeah. So anyway,
Is this all documented? Do you have it all written up yet?
it's no.
Oh, I see.
So this is fresh off the presses. I think the paint is still wet, so be careful. But we also want everybody to take it for a spin.
Yeah, file an
Maybe
issue.
using either free tier NetFoundry offering or ZD Edge Developer Sandbox.
Yeah, or host it yourself if you don't want to use any of that. You can do
Yeah,
that
or
too.
host yourself. We have plenty of options. We have a lot of documentation around it. We will be adding documentation to the Python stuff, but the best documentation you can have is actually just sample code, really. There's some sample instructions over here. So one thing I should note is that it's available as source code. It's also available on the Python index. So if you look, anybody who develops Python should be familiar with the Python package index. Why is it so
Which
slow?
is apparently slow today.
Yeah, but it's available here. So if you want to try OpenZT for a spin and you don't want to deal with the source code, you just do pip install and you will get it.
Very neat. Now I see version 0.4.1. This is actually an interesting question.
Yeah,
To go back to your lineage example, one of the things I was doing, because I'm responsible for publishing the C# SDK at the moment,
yeah.
I've been publishing a native API and I've been tracking the C SDK that's underneath it. Um, why the 0.4 as opposed to tracking the ZD SDK underneath the C SDK?
Um, so the number is, well, basically just like anything, right? I mean, we don't necessarily have to bump Python SDK every time C SDK is bumped, but we also want to. Well, actually, we do. Like if you consume new C SDK, you're gonna get a new version, but you also want to sometimes do your own releases. So it's going to be really hard to keep them in sync if that was your goal.
Particularly when we're in the 0 dots still. I
Yeah,
was thinking about that. I've been thinking about this myself because if we're out of the 0 dot range, then the build, the patch number could easily be small changes that you're making to your SDK. But if you're making bigger changes to that SDK too, then if you want to follow semantic versioning correctly, you really do need to make a big bump there.
I think we do have plans to make everything one on, or at least I do for the CSDK,
Cool.
and
That'll be
then all the
exciting.
downstream SDKs could also be one on at some point.
Well, that'll be a big day.
I think C# is already one on, right?
Probably. I don't even know at the moment. So there are actually two packages that C# publishes. One is the native package, which basically just wraps the CSDK, and then one is the native package. The idiomatic .NET SDK, which is just all managed code. So the native one, because I have two packages, I can do it that way. Maybe that makes more sense too. But the native one tracks the CSDK exactly, and I only push a native one when I need to wrap it. And then the managed code is versioned separately. And I don't even know what version. I thought it was like 0.8, to be honest.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Eugene, I think this has been a great session. I don't have any more questions. I think we filled up an entire Ziti TV with nothing but Python. You can tell from the chat that there's a fair number of people who are excited about that. I'm excited. I'm really interested to see
So
what.
where's the chat thing?
Oh, you gotta go to YouTube probably, or you can look at it if you're in the app that we're using here, Restream. You can find it in the right hand side. I don't know where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Um, I've popped up all the chats too, although I didn't pop up one. I'll pop this one up now. Boom.
Is it in opposite order? Yeah.
I don't know how you're looking at them, but it was a good. I think this is a great Ziti TV. I'm interested in seeing what favorite Python applications people have, and whether they can create a Zitified example of it, and what that goes into. Well, what goes into that. So we should talk to some Python people who are maintainers.
Marcos really likes Flask.
Marcos seems to like Flask. It's mind blowing. Yep. We got Nick saying that he likes Python much better. Gives him some latitude to do some cool stuff natively. Love it. All right, well, that's this week's Ziti TV. Eugene, thank you for stopping by. Very cool stuff. Really impressed how little effort it would take me to use it. So that's really cool.
All right.
All right, man.